social space experiment, because you're going in there, you open up your mouth, you get x-rays and images.
Are you turned up?
Looks like it's flipping back off, right?
I broke it.
Well done.
There we go. So you go to the dentist's office, and what's hidden becomes known, and then the dentist walks through like what's there. You discover maybe a potential solution to a problem that you have, but it is like getting graded and reported on. If you have, it can be humiliating too. I know that some family members of mine have really poor dental health, and it's not because of a lack of what they've done. There's a hereditary part of it. And so going to the dentist isn't just about like, hey, can I get some relief from this pain? But it's like this exposure to this thing that's like broken inside of them from the beginning. So, all that to just say, welcome to the dentist chair. I think that what we're going to walk through is going to be painful. So I want to be as gracious and kind as I can. But I think probably we're going to look at some things, and we're not going to partner with shame. We're not going to partner with guilt. Because remember, we're holding on with faith that we will prevail in the end, but we're also confronting the brutal facts. We're going to take a look at what do actual pipelines in our church look like today. And it could be that in places, a social space like this where it's like, we got nothing. We just hope somebody comes, or we just plug and play. If somebody's willing, we put them in there, and we hope they survive. And it's a lifelong sentence. Others, maybe from church growth model, you're like, we have an assimilation system, and we've got this, and it looks like walking around the bases, and we train people to do this. There's a variety of places, but again, sometimes this can be a painful thing to be able to walk through. Let me just remind you here, what we're looking to do is we're looking to develop and multiply catalytic leaders that know how to abide, that know how to equip others to do the work of ministry, that know how to live as missionaries in the context that they're in. We want to make leaders, not just volunteers. And so we're going to look at what does your leadership pipeline look like. There's a recruitment phase, and you're probably doing something, even if it's unconsciously that you're doing it. You're doing something that allows people to come and to do something in deployment at your church. Training. It could be a book, it could be a class, it could be a one-on-one.
On your thing, there's two buttons. They're volume buttons. You see them? You need to turn it up.
So you're doing something for training. What is that you're doing for training? We're going to look at that. Again, it could be, like you're like, oh, this is forcing me to encounter. We don't do enough. That could be the reality, but that's okay. We're not trying to form the judgment, and we're not trying to have you go up and show your report out so that we can shame you. But just like going to the dentist, it's helpful to find out what's actually going on so that you can potentially see something happen on the other side. What does deployment look like? If you're kind of that L1, L4 leader, it could look like, hey, we had coffee, you sound like you're a great gal or a great guy, how about you go do this thing? A year later, how did that go? It could be like really quick deployment with very little training. What does it look like? And then what does review look like? Does it happen? Does review like, oh, I've been thinking about how they're not really getting this done, I just need to let them know. I need to have that crucial conversation. Or is it that, no, like we have these regular time frames that we check and we ask questions. What does the we talk side of things look like? So what we're going to do is I want you, from your own perspective, again, each of you have a very different place in your church. But when you think about your church's pipeline, what does it look like? What's required? Let's review. I've said 5 minutes in here. That may prove to be too long. I don't know. I'll try to read the room. Because remember when I showed the like L1 pipeline, L10, and L50? I get it that there may be churches here, we have multiple pipelines, and it would be fair to say, write each of those out, what basically is happening during that time, right? I would say bulleted responses, not term papers. And so you don't have to like, substantiate the claims that are there. If train looks like 4-week class, that's good enough. We don't need all of the details about what each of those classes look like. We trust that you've already got in place. Just name it in a short identifier. If you're about ready to do that, what kind of questions do you have that I can help clarify, especially those of you who aren't the senior leader and you're like, never even thought of us having a pipeline. Anything, especially for any of you in those seats that I can help figure out what are you going to do in these next 5 minutes?
Are we doing this in the huddle or?
You're doing this one-on-one right now, so
Okay.
You're just going to write down what does Read Sport do to recruit, train, deploy, review, and then in a little bit, I'm going to invite you to share that with your actual team, and then you'll build a full Read Sport team pipeline. And so in a sense, we'll just take your example in a bit. If you're like, I don't really know what we technically do, I'm sure we do something. Later on, you're going to get to hear from Justin, who's going to say either, oh, actually, this is what we do, or he's going to say, yeah, we don't really do anything about that right now. That's kind of the aha we want revealed either way. Great question. Anybody else?
Michael,
Yeah.
if basically we don't currently have something,
Yes.
is this time also supposed to be spent rather than me just sitting here for 5 minutes being like, we don't do anything?
Sure.
I'm just being transparent. I appreciate it. Just being honest in this space, right? Okay, no shame. Am I supposed to try and build one?
You totally could.
Okay.
But don't feel the pressure like I got to build it in 5 minutes. What I do, and maybe a way you could do it is, what would require as little energy as possible? So what would recruitment look like at the lowest, easiest route to pick? Any other questions? These are really good. Okay, we're going to do 5 minutes right now, and go for there. Pipeline build on the other side. And so if you had a need in your congregation to develop small group leaders, you'd put that at the end. We're going to develop small group leaders. How will we recruit them? What will we do to train them? How will we deploy them? What would review look like? So notice now what you're doing is you're putting a name to an actual action somebody would take. Now you could, in Paul's leadership pipeline, he's creating people who can leave from Ephesus, go out as far as they are so that all of Asia hears the gospel. It's a different kind of an output at the other end of the pipeline. Your church could have a pipeline for small group leaders, for worship leaders, for preachers, you can develop pipelines for any of the kinds of people that you want to equip and mobilize. Now, don't get overwhelmed and create all of those. Just choose one. That was my main point.